Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now.
Yo, what's going on? My name is Kendall. I'm from Victoria, British Columbia in Canada. I am 29 years old and I am an amateur MMA fighter. I'm training out of Bangtao Muay Thai and MMA right now. As a kid, I was pretty sassy. I wanted to wear like a new outfit for every day of the week. My mom allowed me to dye my hair blue when I was 7 years old, and apparently she got in trouble with a lot of the other mothers because, you know, it's probably because I was too cool and all the other kids were just not as cool. So yeah, I was pretty sassy. I've always been pretty sassy.
Just sassy.
I was a sassy child. I wanted to be a pop star. Yeah, when I was 7, I was like determined to be Britney Spears. Yeah, so look how that turned out. It went until I realized I was tone deaf. Probably. Yeah, so I would say it went until maybe I was like 10 years old, and then I started thinking realistically. I started growing up, you know? My brain was developing more, and I realized if I can't sing, I'm not going to be a pop star, so I better choose something else. No, I would say I was pretty shy. Like, I would say that I would try to avoid confrontation, but one thing when I got into my teen years is I was really into going into punk shows, like local punk shows and metal shows and stuff like that, and I loved moshing. So that was like that might have been an avenue into, you know, aggressively punching people in the face. Because I was kind of just like swinging my arms at them, you know? We were pushing each other and stuff, and I really enjoyed that. So yeah, it was my first taste of violence. There was one time I was at this like really local show, and it was only me and one other guy moshing. So it was practically like we were just fighting each other, and I think I really enjoyed that. I know when mosh pits get bigger, they're like more squished and there's less fighting involved. So I would specifically go to those local shows so that I could have more space and more freedom to you know, I mean, I wouldn't be hurting them, but we'd be pushing each other around. I'm not sure where, like, there's probably other ways or other reasons that I became aggressive. And I don't really consider myself to be that, I only really consider myself to be aggressive at times that I want to be aggressive. I wouldn't consider myself an aggressive person, actually, to be honest. I'm pretty easygoing. Well, so after high school, I decided that I didn't want to be a lazy piece of shit anymore. So I started exercising. I just started with lifting weights at the gym, and it was good, but I got bored after a while. But I was still really into like being fit and healthy, so I thought, okay, I got to pick a sport, and I thought, okay, what's like the ultimate sport, right? It's like you can beat someone in tennis, you can beat someone in basketball, but until you actually get into a fist fight with someone, do you actually know who the real winner is? So I thought, okay, that's the perfect avenue. I also don't like group, like I'm not a big like group sport person, so this is a good individual sport. And this was also at the same time that Ronda Rousey was coming up, so I was like, oh fuck, I want to be her, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it just kind of worked out. So I started when I was 21. I started mainly with jiu-jitsu, which is surprising because I wanted to actually get into striking first, but jiu-jitsu was the way because I just ended up loving it and being slightly good at it in the beginning. And then, yeah, I just kept training. You know, I would say I've got like 7 years of training just because there have been things that have gotten in the way, injuries, infections, all that nonsense, moving and stuff like that. So, but yeah, 21 was the start for me. And honestly, I'm rather it that way because if I were to have started earlier, I probably, or like my mom, I remember my mom pushing me to do all these different sports and I just refused all the time. So it's like, it's better this way because I made my own decision, right? I decided that this is what I wanted to do, and now, you know, hopefully it's not too late, but we'll see. My first fight was in 2018, and it was an amateur kickboxing fight, and I lost that because so as soon as the round started, I I just wanted to knock her out so badly, so all my technique went out the window. Not to say that I really had any technique at the time, but the only thing I was throwing was my left hand. So that didn't really work out to my benefit. And then my second fight was my first amateur MMA fight, which was through Battlefield in Vancouver. And that one I also lost a split decision. That one was definitely a lot more even, and I felt like I was, a bit better with my technique. I was using my wrestling, but I just didn't get the win. I guess I wasn't aggressive enough. That's what they said, anyway. So yeah, I started pretty rough, and then COVID happened, and I wasn't allowed to fight for a little bit. And then I came here, and I did 9 Muay Thai fights successfully. So when I first came to Bangtao, I had the intention of doing MMA, but I got kind of excited because you can do Muay Thai. If you want, you could fight Muay Thai every month, and so I knew that my striking was kind of here in comparison to my jiu-jitsu, which was about here. So I thought, okay, what better way to get comfortable with striking than going and fighting repeatedly, once a month. And it did help me. I won 7, lost 1, and drawed 1. So I think that worked out for me. To be honest, I think it's still like my striking is still here and my jiu-jitsu is still here. I think it's just like this as opposed to here. But I do feel more comfortable just like in competition setting now, which is good. Yeah, my last fight was an amateur MMA fight. It was a couple of weeks ago here in Phuket. It worked out quite well for me. I did want to do some striking because I was fighting a kickboxer, but she hit me with a really good hook, and so I decided to use my wrestling, and thankfully I was able to take her down and get a rear naked choke within the first minute and 10 seconds, I think it was, in the first round. So I would say my most dominant win, for sure. I've gotten some like TKOs, like body TKOs in Muay Thai, but I don't know, there's something special about getting a rear naked choke like that, especially that early on in the round. So I'm pretty happy with it. It really sucked. The one good thing is that for me, those losses, it wasn't as if I was completely losing all the time, because I was always actively competing in jiu-jitsu and I was very successful there. To be honest, if I was just losing everything, I'm not saying I would quit, but I'm saying it would be very hard for me to, like, I need some sort of indicator that, like, I'm going in the right progression or the right path. Because, I understand that it's always like this, right? Especially in martial arts. But I need some indicator of that I'm, like, successful. So it did suck losing those 2 fights. My second MMA fight, honestly, I believe that I had won, but it's okay. And I mean, I learn from those mistakes. I learned from winning too. So honestly, obviously I would have much rather won, but I learned, and yeah, I mean, I'm just happy I went out there and tried my best, and obviously, and I really did learn from them, because it's like, you need to know, especially with my first kickboxing fight, like, I had no idea how I was going to react, and honestly, I'm glad I reacted in a way where I wasn't retreating. I was constantly going forward and just throwing, like, one single shot, but at least I had the tenacity and, like, the aggressiveness in the fight. So it's like, I see that as a part win, it's okay. The very first time that I came to Thailand, I actually just came to visit. My ex-boyfriend and I came for just like 2 weeks, and he actually showed me how amazing Thailand is. And then from then on, it was the next time that I go to Thailand, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna train. So I went there with the intent of, the first time I came was November 2022, and I came with the intention of staying for about 3 months. And I picked Bangtao because my friend Sarah Kaufman back at home, my training partner, friend, coach, she recommended this place because she got a recommendation from Loma, and so yeah. And then I just saw I saw on Instagram that there were a bunch of women training here, so I thought, where better to train than Bangtao? And so I came here, and I just didn't really want to go anywhere else. I firmly believe I'm one of those people that will like go to the same restaurant like almost every day just so that I can have a good relationship with the people, you know, even if the food isn't even that great, you know, if the people are awesome. And it's not the same here because I get great training and I have good people, but it's like, why go somewhere else when I know that here works, you know? The wrestling, the MMA, the Muay Thai, everything's here, and the training partners. So it didn't seem necessary for me to check anywhere else. I find that always when you're entering a new gym as a woman, I feel like people don't really know, especially men. It's a male-dominated place, right? And so the men usually don't really know how they're supposed to train with you. At least a lot of them do. I would say at certain levels. Obviously, if they've been in martial arts for forever, then they know how to train with women. But a lot of the time, men don't, or they just will avoid women at all costs. So I feel like I've had this happen to me at every gym in the beginning, is where, you know, it's like, okay, everyone partner up, and then I'm standing there trying to make eye contact with anyone, like anyone around my size, you know, and the men will just divert their eyes because they'd rather just go with the guy, right? It's easier for them, and I understand that, but it's like I could actually be like a legitimate partner, potentially a better partner than whatever dude you've decided to pick, you know. So that can sometimes be an issue, and it always kind of stressed me out. I was like, am I going to be able to get a partner today, or am I going to deal with some dude who like had to partner up with me but he didn't really want to? And then, you know, at Bangtao, it's like I don't really have that issue. I mean, and I do train with guys here because there are some guys that have been training here for a while, and I feel comfortable with them, but there's so many women, so it's like I'm never out of a partner, which is really great here. An issue with being a woman as well in the sport is the lack of fights. I find that I noticed this as well back at home in jiu-jitsu training, you're either fighting the same girls, you know, because there's always those girls in your weight class, or you're fighting no one at all. So it is always more difficult to find fights. So that's an issue as well. You know, you think you get hit on a lot, and I don't know if maybe I'm just ugly, or they're just scared, but it doesn't really happen that often. Unless you're like flaunting your shit and stuff. If you're walking around like you could fucking hurt them, then most of the time they're not going to come up to you in that way, but they will avoid you. That's the thing. It's like they're either going to be weird and creepy, or they're going to avoid you. And then there's like that small group of guys that like are actually, I don't know, secure, not insecure about themselves, and they can train with women. But yeah, my short-term goals: at least 2 or 3 fights this year. In terms of like a long-term goal, I want to be successful. Absolutely, I want to go pro. But the main thing for me is just to be able to comfortably live this life, comfortably live the fighter life, where I can come in, I can train. I love training. It's like my favorite thing ever. So if I can just come in, train, nap during the day, fight every once in a while, earn my money that way, that is the dream, 100%. I want to thank my mom, who is my best friend, who, even though she doesn't fully support me all the time, I know that she always cares about me, always loves me, and is always there for me. And I think my brother, my dad, and all my family members who just like love seeing me grow and develop and do all this crazy, fun, cool shit, be the sassy, you know, 7-year-old that I used to be. And who else? Sarah Kaufman, you've been my inspiration and my friend, and thank you so much for introducing Bangtao to me. Thank you so much for introducing just like, I don't know, training as a woman to me. I think that's awesome. You're awesome.